Society Matters.
Hello and welcome to Ordinary Heroes here on HMTV. I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Furshpan. I have two very special guests with me today, some phenomenal students right here on Long Island who have won an incredible and prestigious award. And I'd like to introduce them to you and talk about the reason why they were recognized for their incredible work. We have TinaMarie Otero and Connie. Hello, how are you today? Very good, thank you. And you've received an award and recognition for a project that you worked on. You worked on a project regarding the Nuremberg Trials. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. What school do you attend right now?
We go to WT Clarke High School in Westbury.
Right, and you are in the 10th grade.
Yes.
And in the 10th grade, they really delve into the events of the Holocaust, correct? They really get into it and they want you to do some research about it, I think, so that you really have a better understanding of what happened, what tragedies occurred during the Holocaust.
Well, to an extent, yes, we were taught of this in our social studies classes, but we did this topic because we personally wanted to do it on the Holocaust. Like, when I was little, I watched the boys' Striped Pajamas, and that really sparked a lot of emotions in me. And I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to focus our project a lot on the Holocaust.
Very good, very good. So that's I saw that film. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really depict everything that happened. Obviously, it touched the surface of it. And obviously, you learned a lot more about what actually did happen, right? And it was pretty atrocious. It's pretty incredible how ordinary people, right, could be lied to and manipulated to do bad things, isn't that? That's one of the lessons of the Holocaust that we teach, is that ordinary people like you and I can actually be manipulated to do awful things to other people, other human beings, fellow human beings, right? And did you enjoy doing the project, TinaMarie?
Yeah, we did.
You did. And why did you pick this particular subject? The Nuremberg Trials, of all things.
So we both value equality, and we both value equality, justice as people.
Right.
And over the summer, Connie was telling me about the boy in striped pajamas, so I also watched it myself, and it made me want to research more into the topic, leading to the Nuremberg Trials, which held the Nazi offenders accountable for their crimes.
I see. So that particular film was kind of like your portal of entry into this world of the Holocaust. And it's you probably realize that it's a bottomless pit of information, because 6 million Jews were killed, but many more were injured and tortured, and others survived, like my father. So my father was a sole survivor of the Holocaust. He came out of a family of 8 people. He's the only one that made it out alive. He was only 10 years old that he ran into the forest, came out at age 13. And so he had quite a story to tell, like many others who did survive. So we honor those that survived, and also, of course, those that we lost during the Holocaust. And it's great that you actually delved into it. And what did you learn? What was the aha moments that you had when you learned about the Nuremberg trial? What was it that you said, wow, that's incredible? What was incredible about it?
I think that what was incredible was that so many people, globally, finally realize the mass atrocities that has been occurring behind the battlefronts.
Right.
People didn't know about the Holocaust until they saw the states of the concentration camps. And when they heard about it in the beginning of the war, they didn't believe it until they saw with their own eyes. Mm-hmm. And I think that this shows that people don't believe what they hear until they see it. And sometimes these actions have to be taken earlier to prevent mass atrocities from occurring.
Right. Did you also learn the fact that actually the world knew about what was going on, but they decided not to intervene? They could have prevented further killings by destroying the railroads, bombing the railroad tracks, bombing the crematoriums and gas chambers. They could have, but the world looked the other way because it wasn't important. So that's a lesson in itself, right? Is to stop the atrocities, because really that's the awful truth, is that many of us really don't get involved, don't stand up for justice, don't do the right thing. We kind of don't want to get involved. It's like, it's somebody else's problem, let them handle it. But you had that aha moment by realizing, like, wow, this was an incredible event that was unbelievable, right? Unthinkable what people could do to other people until the liberators found out, right? When they found out, they were in shock. Isn't that what you found out?
Yeah.
And who were the bad guys that you delved into in the Nuremberg trial?
So in the trials, there was around 24 Nazi offenders that were held accountable for their crimes. However, there were a lot of additional people who committed suicide, for example, like Hitler, who weren't held accountable. And many Jews believe that they weren't held to justice because some people weren't fully held accountable, again, for their crimes that they did.
So but was there anything in the Nuremberg trial that implicated that Hitler, kind of was the forefront of all of this? Was he ever prosecuted to some degree posthumously?
Well, Hitler, he committed suicide before the trials.
Right.
So the trials couldn't really do anything to him.
They couldn't even just,
But I think,
for the sake of just doing it, just to hold him accountable at all. They didn't do that at all. I
don't
assume.
think the trials hold Hitler accountable. But it was obviously that he was accountable because he was the architect of Holocaust, and he was the one who orchestrated everything. But the trials, they prosecuted only those the surviving ones, and people they killed themselves before the trial, and they weren't really held accountable either, through the legal lens.
Is it true that the term genocide was actually a creation of this Nuremberg trial as a result of what they discovered?
Yeah, it definitely was, because afterwards we were able to classify future genocides, future atrocities as genocides. However, some nations don't acknowledge that it was a genocide, for example, the Armenian genocide. And in addition to this, future genocides that happened, they were able to classify this as a genocide as a result of this term emerging.
Very good. That's great. So tell me about your project. What did you actually do?
So we researched on the themes of rights and responsibilities and how the Nuremberg trials paved the path for human rights, and future responsibilities. And this could be seen through the Declaration of Human Rights, which was emerged in the aftermath of the Holocaust. And leaders of nations are also held accountable for their actions, and that no one, even under, not even a sovereignty leader, would be evaded of any accountability.
Well, that's good. It's a good thing. And now we have, I think, several websites, right, that point out where the hotspots are, where genocides are occurring or potentially can occur. There's a couple of hotspots right now, right, in the Sudan, the Uyghurs in China. What other hotspots exist? Are you familiar with any of this?
I think it's a lot of nations in Africa, because they have a lot of ongoing conflicts that never been resolved. So I forgot the website, but on the map there's Africa's completely a lot of parts are red, and they have a lot of ongoing crises.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Holocaust Memorial, the Holocaust Memorial Museum that we explored in one of our classes, and we kind of saw the hotspots.
I see. Okay. On the website, or did you actually go there?
No, we looked on through the website.
I see. And you saw the where the hotspots are, and it's important that people kind of wake up to it. I think most genocides that occur these days are met with a shrug. It's oh, another killing, right? People, during the Clinton administration in the 1990s, the Rwanda genocide occurred, where almost 1 million people were slaughtered in the street. And are we responsible as as the strongest nation on the planet to jump in and help out? Well, we do have some moral obligations, I believe, to stop genocide. What are you trying to teach young people today
That we must take actions as humans, and that to spread the words of kindness and tolerance so future acts of genocides won't occur, and that genocide truly doesn't just kill a country, but it spreads like the influence of like bad influences across the world, and that people needs to be more tolerant and kind of each other so we could prevent this from happening.
Right. What do you think are the best methods of teaching kindness or tolerance to young people like yourselves? Now, we try to do that here. We've been successful to some degree, but I'd like to get insight from you. What do you think we should be doing?
I think that survivor testimonies, which are stories of the survivors of these Holocausts, they're really important in how they should be taught in schools, and that like people of like survivors should like go to schools, talk about their stories, even if it's painful for them. And this is really important because kids growing up, they learn what they learn about the world through teachers, and teachers have this role to uphold and talk about the horrors of the past, and doing so in a factual manner where truths are not covered. And that's the only way for kids to grow up learning about the past atrocities so it doesn't occur in the future.
Very good. I love that. So what you're saying is listening to survivors, or at least, because many survivors are gone, they're not with us anymore. There's only a few left. You know, how do we continue telling their stories? By second generation survivors, right? Like myself telling my father's story. You think that this is going to make a big difference because, is it because it'll foster empathy, understanding what people go through during war and genocides? Is that the reason, you think?
Maybe it could be more of like that first-hand experience.
Right.
When you really have like that connection.
To understand what they go through. Like how words can ultimately lead to a genocide, right? Words can, you know, manipulate people to hate, and hate can lead to violence, and in the wrong hands, it could lead to a genocide, right? And so this is quite a project that you had. How long did it take for you to complete this project, and what kind of research did you have to do?
So we started like last year around maybe like May, we started delving into topics. And by summer, we solidified our topics and began our research process. And we
use like a lot of resources like the Holocaust Museum,
right?
The World War II
Museum.
Yeah. And we gather those resources to develop our background information, which mainly was like leading up to the trials, like the deportation, the mass killing of the Jews when they were sent to the camps, the liberation, and the establishment of the trials, and then the trials themselves, and then eventually like the perspectives that also came along with it, because there's different sides that obviously need to be acknowledged.
Right.
And that the Harvard Library and the Yale Avalon Project was also beneficial to help us like shape our project, because it provided a lot of resources and like the primary sources to why they happened. And we were also able to gain like the main themes of rights and responsibilities and shape that into our project as to fit the theme of National History Day. And we also established an important legacy of how the trials came out, and that it truly established human rights and determined responsibilities of nations and us as individuals to uphold these rights.
This is a wonderful project. I commend you. And what kind of recognition did you get? What kind of an award did you receive?
For Long Island History Day, we placed first at Hofstra.
You did?
Yeah.
For Long Island History Day, which is what day of the year is that?
Like the competition itself was March 23rd.
March 23rd. Is that every year, March 23rd, or roughly that week?
It tends to be like the last 2 Sundays of March.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so you won first place.
And we'll be going to states
in 8 days.
Oh, well, that's terrific. So you won first place for the entire high school program, or
Okay.
just a 10th grade? Or so just, it was you represented the high school. It didn't matter what grade you're in. Is that correct? So you represented Long Island. You won first place, and you won first place in New York State.
No, we're going to compete in New York State.
Oh, you're going to compete in New York State, and then you're going to compete because I think you're going to win, right? So I'm sending you lots of blessings, and I hope you win. And so if you win New York State, you're going to compete with the other states. Is that correct? Oh, that's wonderful. So if that's the case, you'll get to travel a little bit, eh?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
pretty sure Nationals is in Washington, D.C.
I see. Okay. And what are your future goals? Is there teaching, social studies, perhaps, history, anything to do with history in the future? Or is it just a project that you're working on that you really, put your whole heart into it?
Honestly, not too much in the future of history path, but it's just like a side thing of learning more information to broaden my knowledge.
Right.
And for me, like, I've always loved history, but I still don't know what exactly I want to do in my future. So it's like a learning experience. And we've been doing this for like the past 3 or 4 years. So like we don't want to give it up. Like, even though we're like so really busy with our school lives, we still like want to make time to create a project where we learn and develop as people. And
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And so did the school recognize you? After you won, was it a big deal? Did they have a parade, some kind of a party? No, fanfare, nothing. Okay, but I'm sure the principal I'm sure they talked to you and were grateful that you represented their school pretty, in a very in an esteemed way, I should say. So we're all proud of you. We're grateful that we have students like you on Long Island, who I consider heroes, who stand up for justice and try to educate others to be kind and more tolerant to each other, because we're all related, bottom line, right? We're all different because nature likes to diversify, but we don't see that. We are the same. We really are the same, skin deep. And what would you like young people to take away from this? Because you're going to be graduating in a couple of years, right? This will be accessible. I assume your project will still be accessible to other students. How will they find it? And how will others find your project if they're interested in learning more about the Nuremberg trial?
well, if we make it to nationals, I think our project will be featured on the website. So that's going to be accessible for everyone to see. Like, I know that we saw this project on the Nuremberg Trials from last year, one of the winning projects, and we were really inspired by it. And we hope that we could hopefully make it to nationals and let others see our projects from there.
Fantastic. This is great. I'm glad that you joined us today. Greatly appreciate the fact that you came in on a weekend. You could be doing other things, and it's a very important topic. What would you like to learn more from the museum here, the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center, that might help you understand more about what you learned that you're curious about?
I feel like how other people, they feel about the trials overall. Like the topic again, how some people weren't held accountable. How do they feel about that? And I feel like that'll be really insightful to broaden the perspectives of this topic.
Very good, very good. And regarding what's happening in the world today, do you believe that the information that you discovered is applicable?
I feel like it is to an extent, because the trials aren't preventing future genocides. They're changing at the way that they're kind of expressed, because there's been international criminal courts that have been created for future genocides in order for those who've done wrongdoings to be held accountable. So I feel like that has impacted future genocides, but not to the extent where it's preventing genocides as a whole.
So people have to be more proactive. More than just information, they actually have to do things, and to stop hate where it starts, with words. Is that correct? I mean, because words can manipulate, propaganda could be lies, talking about a group of people that's not true. and incite hate, right? And hate can incite violence. And we've seen that, it still exists. It's sometimes it's like an uphill battle. We're educating. But maybe if we didn't do it, maybe it would be worse. But I truly believe that good always wins over evil. I truly believe that hate campaigns crash and burn eventually. But it takes a lot. It takes a whole village, right? Everybody has to do their part. And you're doing your part. And I thank you once again for joining me today on Ordinary Heroes here on HMTV. And I'd like to thank Connie and TinaMarie for joining me today on Ordinary Heroes at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center. Until next time.